Hello, hello, hello. Happy Thursday, everyone. My name is Keesha Hines, and you're watching the Firestarter Show. I am loving this time of year. I am in Florida, and let me tell you, the weather is so nice. We get sunshine, we get a little breeze. It's not too cold, it's not too hot. This is like so good, and I'm loving it. So, I hope you all have had a wonderful week thus far, and I hope you are ready to talk about check ins that you need to be making with your spouse and with your partner, checkups. Tonight, we're talking about couple check ups and check ins. Okay. And so every year, if you are married or not, you have an anniversary. When you first met, when you got married, whatever the case may be, there's an anniversary, right? So here's my question. What do you typically do for your anniversary? Do you travel? Do you plan like a romantic evening? Do you make a weekend out of it? Do you make a week out of it? What do you do? Doesn't really matter as long as the two of you are on the same page. But with whatever you're doing, be it traveling or you just have a nice romantic dinner, you stay in, you go out, whatever the case may be, there should be a checkup that happens at some point during that anniversary celebration. So tonight, I'm going to be giving you questions that you should be asking each other every single year. Okay. Every time you celebrate that anniversary, we should have this couples checkup slash check in with each other to just make sure we're on the same page, to make sure everybody's good, all hearts and minds are clear, so on and so forth. And it's really something that can give you some insight into what's been going on with your spouse. Okay. So I think this can be an amazing tradition that the two of you create to have this conversation. And I would keep some sort of record. Now, there are a lot of you who are techie. We are in a digital age. You can totally put this in a memo in your phone, or if you have an app where you put your notes or documents or whatever the case may be, so it can be an ongoing thing. Could be you create a Google Doc and you just update it every single year. Multiple ways you can get it done. Some folks are old school and they still like journals. They still like journals, right? So you can use a journal, a physical journal, where you write these things down. But either way, you want to keep track. You're looking at your progress. You're able to celebrate wins. If there's still areas of opportunity, you can have a reference that you can go back and look at. Okay. So the very first question, we're going to go ahead and jump into these questions because I'm telling you, I think they truly are beneficial and can help you out when you are in the process of investigating and exploring how you actually are doing relationship wise, right? I think a lot of times couples just don't talk about these things, and we need to. So, the very first question, how did I do? How did I do this year? So simple, right? And really, what you're asking for is for them to rate you and how you showed up. Okay. You can be granular for those of you who are like analytics and you like assessments and evaluations. You can say on a scale of 1 to 10, 0 being I absolutely sucked as a spouse. I showed up horribly. I was just the worst. Versus 10, I was a phenomenal spouse. Okay. I showed up in every aspect, in every way. And while I am not perfect, this is as close to perfection I think somebody could get. Okay. And then rate me on that scale if you choose to do a scale, or you can keep it even open-ended and just ask, how did I do this year? I think that the more detailed and specific you get with your question, the better feedback you'll probably get. So if you're thinking about something in particular, then be particular. But I like to keep this first question open. And just so you know, the questions I'm going to give you, these are not necessarily the order that I'm suggesting that you ask them in, but I think this is a good opening question to say overall, generally speaking, how did I do? How did I do? And I think that opens up the conversation and can really just get you guys, in a groove. And once you get in practice and you get consistent with doing this, it's an expectation every year. And then you won't have to maybe be so detailed and specific with certain questions because your spouse kind of already knows, right? You already know what to expect. But again, I think how did I do this year is a really good opener and a really good question just to start that dialogue and to give you kind of an overview about how you did this particular year. All right. So, second question, did I grow? Did I grow? I think this is a phenomenal question because all of us should be trying to grow and evolve. All of us should be trying to improve, right? So, you want to ask your spouse, did I grow this year? Can you see any progress that I made as an individual? So, here's the reality. I'm sure many of you have heard this that you know it's along the lines of like the weakest link. Who is the weakest link? And the success of your relationship is really contingent upon your individual growth and development. So here's the reality. If I'm not growing and my spouse is not growing, we're not growing together as a unit, as a team, as a couple. So you want to ask each other, did I grow? Can you see any progress that was made in comparison to last year? Can you see where I've made any growth, any progress? And hopefully that question is yes. And then you want to get a little deeper, right? Go more granular. Well, in what ways did you see me grow? How did I grow? Did I grow professionally? Did I grow spiritually? Did I grow mentally, emotionally, physically? Did I grow? And now, okay, let me pause on this physical growth thing. We're not talking about did you gain weight? That's not what we're talking about. We don't want to ask that question because that could totally make this whole anniversary situation go left. So we don't want to do that. But physically, did I grow? Meaning, have I maybe I had certain goals for myself? I know for me personally, like I wanted to have some changes with my arms, right? I wanted a little bit more muscular with my arms. Well, did my muscles get bigger? So, whatever it is, right? But you want to be specific in asking those questions. Did I grow? I think that's, again, one of those questions that can give you an opportunity to really praise your spouse, celebrate your spouse, right? When you ask those questions. And so, I think that's a really good one. And keep in mind, these are not questions, as I said, that you have to ask in this order. Okay. Next question. And again, for those of you who are just joining, we are talking about questions that you should be asking your spouse every year around your anniversary time. Start a tradition of having this dialogue that's like a couples checkup, a check in. Now, you don't have to wait to anniversary, you can do it whenever you want to, but this is just a suggestion. So you have this annual check in. And if you pick a particular time, then it's something that your spouse will anticipate, they'll expect, and they'll be prepared for. All right. So the third question, like I said, not necessarily in order. Are you happier this year than you were last year? Now, I was very specific when I created this question, and I'll tell you why. Because if you just ask the question, are you happy? Well, maybe that day, maybe this season that you're in your relationship, you're not happy. But the prior to then you were happy. And so maybe in that moment you're not happy. And so that can just taint and dismiss everything that took place for that entire year, right? So, are you happier this year than you were last year? Gives you an opportunity to reflect on where you were last year, evaluate where you are now, and even if you're not as happy as you desire to be, are you happier than you were last year? Which says we are growing, we're evolving, we're improving. And so I think this is a really powerful question, again, to get you to reflect on the previous year and evaluate and assess where you are now. And also, if the answer is no, then we know there's more work that has to be done. Okay. And so that's okay. We want to be open and honest with each other. And that's again, conversation you want to have before you start this, that we need full transparency. There's no way we are going to grow and improve and evolve if we're not keeping it 100 with each other, right? So we have to keep it real at all times, but we want to do it in a way that's raw and real, but not rude. Okay. Next question. Are you more satisfied this year than last year? Okay, so satisfaction, again, is kind of general because it needs to be specific to your relationship. So if you were dissatisfied with 5 out of 10 things last year, but this year you're only dissatisfied with, let's say, 2 out of 10 things, we've made progress. And talk about why you are more satisfied, what you are more satisfied with, so you can encourage your spouse to continue doing whatever it is that they were doing to be more satisfied. Now, keeping it all the way real, sometimes it's not our spouses. Sometimes there's a lack of satisfaction because of us, and it has nothing to do with our spouse. So that's something to think about as well, where you're really taking the time to think about that. When your spouse asks you, are you more satisfied this year than last year? Was there something that you changed? Did your mindset shift? Were you dissatisfied with other things that happen to bleed over into your relationship, which again is completely separate from your marital relationship? But it's still important to ask, are you more satisfied this year than last year? Because you do want to be able to assess, evaluate, and ask each other, can we see growth? Can we see improvement? And if not, then we know we still have some work to do, and that's okay. I want to shout out Nina for being here. Hey, sis, thank you for tuning in. I appreciate you. And everybody else, sometimes you don't drop in comments, you don't let me know that you're here, and that's totally fine. But I'll just say, please be sure to like, share, and subscribe. I really appreciate that. Tell all your friends, family members, co-workers, and colleagues about the Fire Starter Show. All right. So next question. What went well this year? Like, be specific. What went well in our relationship, in our marriage? What went well? We want to celebrate the wins. And a lot of this has to do with our mindset. I think naturally, as human beings, we have a tendency to focus on the negative, but we have to be intentional about focusing on the positive. So, asking that question, what went well, forces us to think about the positive things that occurred. And so I'll just give you an example. And this is something very minuscule, right? But it's just an example to prove a point. If your spouse was constantly leaving a toilet seat up, and you said multiple times, I need you to put that toilet seat down, and your spouse consistently began to put the toilet seat down, and let's say maybe once or twice a month they forgot to put it down, where if they were doing it all the time and they've made progress, you know what? That went well this year. You listened to me, you heard what I said, you took action. I appreciate that. Or if it's a situation where one spouse is overspending all the time and they're being more mindful of their spending after you all had a conversation. Maybe you created a budget and the spouse is sticking to that budget. Even though they may slip up here and there, you can see progress. So you want to highlight those things and express your gratitude and your appreciation to your spouse for the contributions that they made to the things that went well. We always want to acknowledge the good things that our spouses are doing. Okay. Okay. Deep breath. Woosah, everybody. This next question may be a little tough. What challenges did you face this year? So I know I just said focus on the positive, and I still mean that. But here's the thing, challenges in and of themselves, I know seem to have a negative connotation. But the reality is, it doesn't have to be negative, because many times we think a challenge is equated to some type of failure of some sort. But what I know, what I've learned in business and, personally, is that challenges oftentimes are just opportunities for us to grow. And the reality is you may still be facing some challenges today. And it's okay. What we're going to do is acknowledge them, and then we're going to work on them together. We're going to work on them together. If there's something that you have already overcome, celebrate. Celebrate. There's so many times my spouse and I, we sit and we talk about the growth that we see in each other and the progress that we have made as a couple, because it can get discouraging when you still have things that you're working on, because none of us have arrived. No relationship is perfect. But the reality is, if we sit and we think about all the work that maybe we still need to do, or the areas where we're still kind of struggling, then that can cause us to lose hope. And also it drains your energy, right? The energy that you need to be able to continue showing up as your best self and continue doing the work. So we want to look at the challenges that we faced and look at which ones we've overcome, look at the ones that we are still in, and the ones that we haven't even addressed yet. And we want to put some action steps in place to deal with the ones that we haven't started dealing with yet, and be consistent with working on the ones that we're currently working on. And also, maybe having a conversation about how we can support each other through those challenges. Do I need to show up differently? Is there something that you would like me to continue doing that actually motivates you, encourages you, and helps you? So that dialogue is really important, to talk about the challenges. While it may be a little uncomfortable, well, most of these questions are probably going to be uncomfortable because we're evaluating and assessing each other. And if we're keeping it real with each other, there are going to be some things that aren't going to be all peaches and cream, unicorns and rainbows, right? We're going to have to say some things that may not feel good to our spouses. We're not trying to hurt them, but this is the only way we're going to grow. Okay. All right. Next question. What are you looking forward to next year? I absolutely 100% love this question. I love this question because it forces us to start to anticipate good things. We start to anticipate good things, which is amazing. Because again, we have a tendency as human beings to focus on the negative. We can shift our thinking, we can shift that energy into focusing on things that we are excited about, things that we're anticipating, and things that we're looking forward to for the coming year, which can fuel you, give you energy, motivate you to continue doing the work, to continue showing up, because there's a reward on the other end. And I don't know about you, but I like rewards, all types of rewards. So we want to ask each other, what are we looking forward to the next year? Hopefully we are in alignment with one another in terms of the things that we're looking forward to, that we're in agreement with those things, because again, I think that could be really powerful for both of you. Okay. Are you pleased with our level of intimacy? Are you pleased with our level of intimacy? Now, intimacy, not sex. Okay? Is this thing on? Intimacy, not sex. Are you pleased with our level of intimacy? We're talking about emotional connection. We're talking about intellectual connection, spiritual connection, right? Are you pleased with our level of intimacy? And if the answer is yes, amazing, amazing. What specifically are you pleased with? What am I doing that makes you happy in this area, or makes you feel satisfied, or pleased with our level of intimacy, so I can keep doing it? And if the answer is no, what do you need more of? And be specific. I need more emotional connection. I need a more spiritual connection. I need a more intellectual connection. Maybe we're not communicating enough, or maybe we're not communicating effectively and efficiently. So maybe that's an area of opportunity for us to improve the way that we speak to each other. Um, Sometimes couples really get caught in that surface level communication. How was your day? Fine. How was your day? Fine. How was work? Oh, it's okay. What happened with the kids? Oh, nothing much. Um, and then you start talking about maybe your schedule and what you need to do for the rest of the week, but there's no deeper level conversation. And so when that happens, many times there tends to be a lack of intellectual intimacy when we're not speaking about other things, not having conversations that go below the surface, and we're not really taking that time to really pick each other's brain and figure out what you got going on in there. What are you thinking about? I'm married to a head type who is constantly in his head. I'm a head type too, but I'm married to someone who doesn't talk a lot and is in their head a lot. And so when that happens, many times getting we're not getting to the details of what they're thinking and how they're feeling. And so, we have to be intentional about having those deeper level conversations. Okay, so are you pleased with our level of intimacy? Yes or no? If yes, why? If no, why not? And then again, we want to put a plan in place, action steps in place to improve that level of intimacy if not satisfied, but then also if they are satisfied, a plan to continue. Okay. All right. Very last question. And I already knew you were going to ask me, uh, what about sex, baby? Okay. Are you fulfilled sexually? Oh boy. Again, another one of those questions that can get delicately, um, if the person is not fulfilled sexually and they know that this is such a sensitive area for their spouses, they may be hesitant to tell the truth, but you have to. With each and every one of these questions, you must tell the truth. If you are not fulfilled sexually, you got to let your spouse know and you got to tell them why. Okay. And if they are saying they are not satisfied with you sexually, be open, as with all of these questions, for that feedback. You got to check your emotions at the door before we have this deep, intimate conversation. And you need to know if your spouse is not satisfied sexually. And if you are not, your spouse needs to know. So, I chose the word fulfilled on purpose because satisfied could mean it's good, I'm good. But fulfilled takes it to another level, right? Like I am fulfilled, meaning I can't even think about a way that you can make this better. Okay. So if you are there, hallelujah. If you're not, it's a conversation and we need to work on it and we need to talk about it because it is important. And we want both parties involved to be satisfied. Okay. So the reality is this isn't, just a time for us to celebrate the year and reflect on the year. It is a time to truly celebrate each other. Okay. It's a chance to look at your journey, to look and see how far you've come, where you still want to go, and to give you more insight, to give you more confidence in your relationship, to really get clear about where you and your spouse are. Okay. And I think, again, it can be so powerful if you be consistent with it. All right. So, one of the things that I want to ask you all to do me a solid. What topics do you want to hear about? Send your request to Keesha La Chispa at gmail.com. Keesha La Chispa at gmail.com. What topics do you want to hear about for the coming year? What would you like me to bring to you? And remember, this is the show, the spark show. And that's actually what La Chispa means, the spark. But that's what this fire starter show is all about. We are sparking conversation about sex, parenting, arts, relationships, and kingdom business. Okay, improving your relationship and connection with God individually and collectively. So, whatever topics you want to hear about, please let me know. I am happy to oblige. All right. So, whatever topics you want to hear about, send your request to Keesha La Chispa at gmail.com. And last but not least, if you are in need of services because you want to improve as an individual, you want to improve your relationship, you want to have a spicier sex life, you want more intimacy, whatever, schedule a heat call today. Call or text 727-213-8247 and we can get that going for you. So I want to thank you all for showing up, for participating. I want to thank you for sharing, and subscribing and telling all your friends, family, coworkers, and colleagues about this show. And I hope you will begin to check in with your spouse, with your partner. I hope you will start this couples checkup and do it annually to make sure that you're continuing to celebrate your wins, acknowledge the areas of opportunity, and create that roadmap for where you would like to go for the coming year. All right. So you all have a blessed night. I appreciate you. And I will see you same time, same place next week. All right. Have a good night, everybody. Take care.